Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday, and welcome to another edition of the Spin Zone. We have new week, which means new money, and I am back to help you along with that. So, coming to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe on YouTube and get you immediate access to all the content that we put out there. Follow me at Spin Doc Sports on X. Like the video, give it a share, give it some love. We do appreciate it. Helps get our stuff out there. So, um, it's a new week. And like I said, we have new money. Obviously, we are coming off of an absolutely incredible Friday and a very, very slow Saturday. I had talked a couple times on Saturday's show about how the trick is after you have banger days like Friday was, is to not give it back. In fact, on Saturday, VIP only had 1/2 unit play the entire day, just one. And that is, to me, almost as important as picking the right ones and picking the winners on the heavy days is to not give that back, to bank your money and be strategic about when you put it into play, wait for the key spots, and then go crazy and invest. So that's kind of where we're at for today. Today, I would probably say is in between. I would say that today is probably in between the other ones for as far as like how many good plays we see or like where things are at. So there are a couple good spots today, but over the weekend, a couple of things from like Saturday that we did learn is that on days when when the card just doesn't feel right, the worst thing you can do is force a bet. I'm talking about Wheeler, and I talked about how over was the only way you can play it, but you need the right Pirates lineup. The Pirates lineup did not cooperate. They had Canario, who's a low contact guy, out. Then they had Solak instead, who's a high contact guy, in. The strikeout total did corroborate with that. I said that I can maybe see 7. He got to 6 with the change in lineup. That one was he was never really on track to get that one, was Wheeler, and he pitched very strategically. And that's another thing about some of these guys is that Wheeler is another type of another pitcher who, like, kind of like Nick Pivetta, a lot higher strikeout, but he doesn't need strikeouts to be effective. He can get them when he needs them. And he can have games where he can go out and K8 guys and keep them off the bases that way. But against a Pirates lineup that was relatively offensively challenged in some high contact guys, especially in the zone where Wheeler operates, he didn't need to get strikeouts. And that's what he did not do. Another thing that I learned from over the weekend is that, we've talked about him on here before. He made a finalist list for VIP, and I said it was close to being a play, but I'm glad I didn't make it official. Sandy Alcantara, the numbers actually said that he would have a really good start, but there's sometimes where like the pitcher just isn't that dude. And I feel bad for Sandy, man, because has not been the same since coming back from his injury. Just really had a rough go of it. 4 earned runs in 5 innings, only struck out 3, never really came close at all. Alcantara is a guy who, from an over perspective, is firmly on timeout for me for probably a while. So for me, it's going to be either under or nothing with him. Just not that guy. The other thing that I wanted to call out is that, which is going to be something that we're going to talk about a little bit more today, is for pitchers who have heavily juiced over props on the road, right? On the road. I'm talking about Pablo Lopez. I said to take a shot on the under. The over did end up hitting at the very, very last moment, but it was a 50-50 shot. And for a while there, he was way off the pace. So, what I look at with those is, and I tell VIP this all the time, is that in those situations, yes, this one hit, but that's why we don't play results poker. What I look at is that this prop was a 50-50 shot. And on one side of the 50-50 shot, you're paying minus 155 juice. On the other side, it's plus money. And then the third option, which we always have, is let it go and don't play it. So that is something that I always like, that I always, just I always preach to people is that if you're going to take what amounts to a 50-50 shot, what I always recommend is you take the plus money side, especially for a road pitcher, or you just leave it alone. Because remember, it's free to leave it alone. And there were some people I saw out there giving out Pablo Lopez. I always peruse X for people who follow the public stuff like trends and hit rates and stuff like that, and I roll my eyes and call it advanced analytics and call it a model. I couldn't roll my eyes harder. But anyways, the people that do that, I look at what they're on, because typically the lines that they're on with those are the ones that can be the traps. So those ones are ones that, yes, the public wins too on those every now and then. But again, if you're the book and you're giving out that type of play, or that type of line, and you have a 50-50 win rate for ones that you collect minus 1.55 in juice versus occasionally having to pay out some plus money to some sharps who got on the under, who do you think comes out ahead? But people who do the other side, the former of that, are always losing players. So that's kind of the lesson that I like to leave people with, is that if after the capping, after the line, whatever, if it doesn't seem like, wow, like there's a lot of value on this side, what it usually means is that it amounts to a 50-50 shot, or maybe 51-49. Then you got to look and see, okay, the side that I want is juiced at I'm making this up, minus 160. Minus 160 shots need to hit at like close to 58-59% to be profitable. And so if you're playing something that has a 50-50 chance and you need to hit at a 58-59% to be profitable, you can see where over time that adds up not in your favor. And that is one of the primary ways that the books make money. So that's the lessons for today. Before we get on to the business of the day, I want to give a shout out to all those in the chat. Good morning to Roger, always with us. Thank you, my guy. And yes, let's have a great week. Let's start it off right today. Mario saying good morning, happy Monday, new week, new money. Let's go indeed. And Mario also saying, I appreciate coming to the show and listening to be more profitable, better. Thank you, Mario. I appreciate that. That's the goal. The goal is not just to give plays, so to speak, because there's a lot of shows out there, and there's nothing wrong with them. And a lot of people that do them, some people that do them are actually pretty good at this, but they just give plays. And it's like, I like the under, or I like, the Tigers, or I like the Nationals, whatever. Right. And just spew plays. And there's a place for that. I like to be a little more analytical. I like to go a little deeper, and I like to educate people on like how books make their money, how things are lined, and really help people understand to do exactly what Mario said, to make you more profitable, better. So maybe the next time you see a line that you're like, ooh, like it just doesn't look right, or man, this is a 50-50 shot and I'm paying juice on it. Is that really what I want to do? Do I really want to pay the level of juice that needs to win at 55% for something that I have a 50% chance of winning? Stuff like that is where I try to differentiate. So appreciate the shout out, Mario. And Roger saying, we learned that Gallon is either really good or Colorado is getting worse. Either way, cashed you over. You mean Merrill Kelly, I assume, right? Because Gallon didn't hit. I'm assuming that you're talking about Merrill Kelly, because Gallon was wild, man. His first inning was freaking hilarious. or no, you must talk about the over for the game. I'm assuming because that game was over like any total that you like. It was even over the highest possible total you could have gone for that game because Gallon just got beat battered around. He was his first inning was hilarious. 16 pitches, 3 home runs, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, and 2 strikeouts. I'm like, normally you see a kind of inning like that from like Blake Snell or Robbie Ray or something like that, right? But yeah, Gallon just wasn't that dude. Colorado just pounded him. So, and Mom Who Bets, good morning to you as well. Thank you so much for joining. Appreciate you all. Let's get on with it. I'm going to skip the swing metrics chart today because not a lot of stuff that I have to talk about goes along with team metrics. It's more with individuals. So the first pitcher we are going to talk about today is Mr. Sonny Gray, striking guys out at 24.8%, walking them at 5.8. He is against the Tigers today. Tigers coming off a back-to-back road trip. This game is at 7:45 Eastern time. And we have what I kind of expected the line to be over 5.5 at -140 versus an under 4.5 at slightly plus money. All right. So Sonny Gray has hovered between a 5.5 and a 6.5 pretty much for the better part of the last month. And overall, he's probably about 50. He's about 50-50 to that. Outs are set at 17.5, which is where they should be. His hits are slightly up. He's been at 4.5. It's now at 5.5, at a bettable 5.5 too. So something to keep in mind there. And his earned runs have been at between 1.5 and 2.5. Now are set pretty firmly entrenched at 2.5. Now, when I look at Sonny Gray's past history, which he's got ample history against some of these guys because of his previous time with the Twins, with the Yankees. So Javi Baez, who he's got the most history against, has over a 50% strikeout rate. So Javi, you can pretty much mark down for one. That goes along with how he pitches in his pitch mix. There's a few other guys that he's got some really, really great strikeout numbers against. Gleyber Torres and Riley Green, he has struck out 9 times in 12 plate appearances. That's ridiculous. And then it kind of goes the other way from there, where you have Kerry Carpenter, Zach McKinstry, and Spencer Torkelson, only 3 strikeouts in 20 plate appearances. So you have a few guys in this lineup that Sonny Gray has gotten a number of times before. But when we go to this year, Sonny Gray has lived in the zone, 52.2% zone rate. Now he's allowing 86.6% zone contact. So what I look for with Sonny Gray, because he does have above average chase. So what I actually look for with Sonny Gray, even though he lives in the zone, he allows in such an ample amount of zone contact that I look for how many of these guys are going to go chasing. Because when guys chase against Sonny Gray, he's been elite at getting them to miss. 45.9% chase rate, which is way below pitcher average. This is what happens when your most off-thrown pitch is a sweeper. He basically alternates between a sinker and a sweeper. Doesn't have a lot of velo, never has, but that sweeper generates a 34% whiff rate, and he throws it to both sides of the plate. It is a pitch that has above average break, and it has a really, really good spin rate, which is up from last year, over 2,700 RPMs. Normally, when you're getting about 26, 25, somewhere in that area. For a sweeper, that's pretty good. So anything over 2,700 is quite good. So I'm looking at the Tigers lineup right now, the projected one, which is projected to be 5 righties and 4 lefties. So Gray hasn't really had an issue with the right side or the left side of the plate, so not much to discern from there. So I'm looking at, of this projected lineup, how many of these guys are going to chase. So I always take them in threes. First 3, second 3, third 3. First 3, who he's going to see the most: Carpenter, Torres, and Keith. So we're looking at Carpenter, Torres, and Keith. And what I see is that Carpenter chases a lot, Torres doesn't chase, and Keith doesn't chase either. So Carpenter, when he does chase, he does make really, really good chase contact. So of those first 3, there's not a whole lot to really love about this one for Gray. Next 3, Green, Torkelson, and McKinstry. Again, looking at the chase rate for both, Green does chase above league average, Torkelson doesn't chase, and McKinstry chases below league average. Now, both Torkelson and McKinstry don't make contact when they chase. The other one does. So from these three, I can probably, especially with Green, Torkelson, and McKinstry, with the past history being into play here, I'm not counting on a ton of strikeouts here either. I'm probably counting on one, maybe two. So I'm at three right now. And then the last three, I already talked about Javi Baez. He'll strike out. So that's four. And then you got Dingler and Sweeney. And from Dingler and Sweeney, there is a good amount of chase from Dingler. There also is an above average swing rate, chase rate from Sweeney. So where I'm getting at with this one is from all of that, I come up with 5. Now, the question is, can he get to 6? And yes, he definitely can, because you do have a number of guys that are in this lineup that do have below average chase contact. And so there are a few guys that I would like to see in that would be really, really helpful for us if we're going to look at potentially getting an over here. So even though a couple guys that I don't see in right now, I wouldn't expect him to be in, but just guys that you can maybe look at would be Baddoo. I know he played over the weekend. He would be another one that would be nice to be in. Creedler is probably not going to be in, but he chases and doesn't make contact. Either one of those two would be just fine. And then you also have, I wouldn't be horribly opposed to seeing Malloy in this lineup, just because while he doesn't chase a ton, his chase contact is pretty bad. So that's what I'm looking for with this one. I come up with 5. I see 5 for sure, but then I go and I say, can he get this 6th one? And unless he's going to get Javi Baez twice, which based on his outs, he's probably going to see, he's going to see Baez twice, maybe. I don't think he gets to Baez a third time if Baez is batting 9th. So then I have to look at because if I remember right, the top 3 in the lineup are not very strikeout prone to this man. So now I have to go down and I have to say, okay, the next 3 by the numbers aren't like, I mean, are kind of sort of strikeout prone. Especially Green and Torres are the 2 that I'm looking at here. So really what I'm looking for is Green, Torres, or Javi Baez are probably going to have to strike out twice, or he's going to have to get a guy like Carpenter, or he's going to have to get a guy like Torkelson, who he hasn't, and who by the numbers say probably isn't going to strike out. So the one thing that Gray does have going for him is that obviously he's at home and the Cardinals are coming off a back-to-back road trip. Sometimes in the first game off of a back-to-back road trip, you can see teams, you fly out after your game, you get into town, you get settled in, and then you got to get up and play baseball the next day. Sometimes it can lead to a first game with more strikeouts. So if I'm playing this one, I'm probably looking to pair the over with something else and get it down to plus money. I'm not sure I like this one enough at standalone to take it. I think it's lined pretty correctly. And this goes back to the reason why I chose this one was what I was saying about the 50-50 shots, is that this is probably close to a 50-50 shot that he gets the over. Now, the question you might ask is, well, can I just take the under then? Because it's at plus 124 on FanDuel right now. It's at plus money. The problem I have with that is that there's a lot of things working against the Tigers for the under for this one, if this is the lineup that they go with. Number one is you have guys in this lineup that easily can strike out twice. Javi Baez being one, Gleyber Torres being another, Riley Green being a third. Guys can easily strike out multiple times against this guy. And so you also have, like I said, the back-to-back road trip coming in, getting situated, all that stuff plays a factor. So for me, what I'd rather do is just put the over with something else and try to get plus money if this is the lineup that they run. With Sonny Gray, because he's in the zone so much, umpire doesn't really make a whole lot of difference to me. I usually look at umpires when a guy is trying to hit the corners and on the edges. And when Sonny Gray throws his zone stuff, it's usually right at guys. So not a whole lot to discern from that. So real quick, couple people just joined as well, trying to rob FanDuel. Good morning to you, my guy. Thank you so much for being here. And Eric, thank you for being here as well. Appreciate you. All right. So that's Sonny Gray. The next one is Mr. Sanchez. We get Road Sanchez today, but he's against an inferior opponent. So what do we do with Christopher Sanchez? All right, let's break it down. Christopher Sanchez striking guys out at a 28.4% clip, walking guys at 9.3%. He gets the Rockies, the Strikeout Kings. This game is at 8:40 p.m. And as you would expect, we do have a highly juiced 5.5 at -160 when under at +120. Now, interestingly enough, going to Coors, going to Colorado, the man who is averaging 6.5 strikeouts a game overall, we don't get a Rockies tax on this one. This juice is what he was against a number of teams. This is what he was against the Rays. This is what he was against, not the Mets, but this is what he was when he was against the Nationals. This juice is not super abnormal. So there's no Rockies tax to begin with. I've talked many times on this show and others about how when it comes to striking guys out, Road Sanchez and Home Sanchez are not the same pitcher. It's not the same guy. He can pitch well on the road, but strikeouts are a different story, to the tune of striking guys out at home at 33.9% versus 16.9% on the road. Now, you can look at his road games and you can say he's faced the Rays, he's faced the Mets, and he's faced the Cardinals. None of those are the strikeout proneness as the Rockies do. So, okay, fine. I'll give you that. But you look over the course of Sanchez's career, and you do see nearly a 12% difference between overall between home and road from a strikeout perspective. He just doesn't strike guys out on the road, even when he pitches well. Now, Sanchez does have history in Coors. He's got one game, and this was last year, so it is pretty recent. 24 plate appearances against a team that struck out just as much as this one, and he allowed 7 hits, only 1 earned run, 2 Ks. 2 strikeouts. Now, one of the reasons why this is, and I believe, is because of the pitches that he throws, specifically the slider. Slider is his third pitch and one that's generating a 32.1% whiff rate. The way he throws his slider and the way in which that it breaks can be impacted by the air at Coors. So real quickly, the reason why that happens, for those that don't know, is that the thin air at Coors is when you throw a baseball and you displace the air molecules around it, you create what's called the Magnus effect. What the Magnus effect does is that the object in motion going with spin with the baseball, the air molecules get displaced through where the ball is thrown. They build up behind and around the object, in this case, the ball, and cause it to have more force or more spin in the direction that the object is spinning. That's why spin matters so much with baseball, because those air molecules build up behind and around it and keep moving in the exact same direction that the ball is spinning when you displace them. At Coors, there's not as much air. The air is thin, so there's not as many air molecules, so the ball breaks less. That's especially true for Sanchez's slider. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's going to turn him into a 2-pitch pitcher, but it is possible that it does. It is possible that he relies on his slider, which he only throws 15.7%, a lot less. So that turns him into sinker changeup. Now, the question becomes, can Christopher Sanchez get 6 strikeouts? I mean, my God, of course he can. This is the Rockies. We know that. That's not even that's not even a question. This team is absolutely poor at swinging. But when I look at this lineup right now, which I would expect them to go righty heavy, which they are, you only have one lefty and 8 righties. And now one of those righties is Kyle Farmer, who has been a very, very high contact guy. And a number of these other ones are guys that actually have some really, really good K history against Mr. Sanchez. So Tovar, 2Ks and 11 plate appearances. Beck, none in 4. Brenton Doyle, none in 9. You also have Stallings and Farmer combined that have 2 and 12. You see where I'm going with this. Really, the only guy he's got great K history against is Michael Toglia, where he struck him out 3 out of 4 times. So really, just this one, I'll be totally honest. I mean, the Rockies are on no under island, so there's really no point in even considering an under on this one. Even though plus 120 for a home team for an under is tempting, but I just can't do it with the Rockies. I can't get there at all. So this is one where I would guess if you look all over X today, you'll probably see a lot of trend cappers that will just be salivating at this one because Sanchez is averaging 6.5 strikeouts per game, which is one thing that a lot of those people use. He already got them for 7 earlier this year, which is another thing people use. That was at home, that wasn't on the road, and that also wasn't in altitude and in that thin air. The truth of the matter is Sanchez hasn't hit 6+ strikeouts once this year. And yes, he's faced much different teams, but he is just a much different pitcher. It's a lot more pitch to contact at home. It's especially true, which is what he did last year at Coors, where he basically just threw his sinker like religiously, threw his sinker religiously because, and the reason why that happens is because what you don't want is you don't want to leave a slider hanging because then with the thin air, the ball gets hit and there's not as much downward draft on the ball and it can go for miles to the point where last year, Sanchez threw 83 pitches at Coors. And I talked about how his slider is like 15, 16, sometimes 20%. He only threw it 14% of the time last year. Its velo was down by almost 2 full miles an hour, and the spin and the break on it were down considerably. The vertical break on it, which is what he needs to get strikeouts, was down by 4 inches last year in Coors. And so, yeah, you can say he's a different pitcher. He's added velo and all that stuff this year, but the way that he throws his slider can be impacted by this air. So Sanchez is a guy that I'm more giving him out and talking about him today because I know he'll be so public because of the opponent. But if this game were in Philly, it would obviously be a different story. It'd be a different line too. But books seem to know this, and that's why they didn't put the Rockies tax on there. What they're doing is I think they're adding just enough juice to get the trend bettors and to get the average bettors to lock in and, give out their 30-unit can't miss, whatever it is, play. Again, he can hit this. The Rockies are a poor swinging team, and it's very possible that he could go out and do that. But I see a lot of signs, especially with him being on the road, some of the struggles Kane guys on the road over his career with the lack of break and the lack of throwing this slider out in altitude. There's just, honestly, there is nothing for me to like at all about this prop. So, the reason why I'm talking about him is to hopefully, if you have other people that you follow, other people that you see, and they're giving you all these averages and these numbers, this is why we go deeper on this show, because the numbers just tell me to just stay far, far away from this one. So that's Christopher Sanchez. Last but not least is Mr. Robbie Ray. The Robbie Ray experience, the new Blake Snell, since Blake Snell is on the shelf. Robbie Ray, lefty, striking guys out at 26.3%, walking them at 12.4%. It just wouldn't be Robbie Ray without a double-digit walk percentage. He gets the Royals at 9:45 Eastern tonight, and we have an over of 5.5 of -112 and an under 5.5 of -112 as well. The Royals are a very high contact team. That makes a whole lot of sense. This is around what I expected this line to be at. Now, conventional wisdom would tell you to look at the under because of how high contact the Royals are. But the Royals are high contact in the zone, over a 90% zone contact rate over the last few weeks, which is number one in Major League Baseball. And where does Robbie Ray get a lot of his stuff? He gets a lot of his stuff outside the zone, getting guys to chase to the point of only allowing 42.6% chase contact, which is the best mark of any pitcher who is starting today. It's one of the best marks in baseball. When you chase against this guy, when you specifically chase against his slider, you whiff. Now, the one other thing about the Royals is that they swing a lot outside of, they actually swing a lot, period, but they swing a lot outside of the zone. A bottom 5 metric in chase rate over the last 14 days and for the year, and their chase contact rate is under average. Now, I look at this lineup as of right now, which is projected to be 2 lefties and 7 righties. First and foremost, I see that Waters is batting in the 9 hole. I want Waters in if I'm going to look at an over here. I really do. Very, very high potential for a strikeout to Robbie Ray. And a couple of the other ones, he's got some really good history against. Hunter Renfroe, he's faced 37 times and has struck out 17. You can likely mark him down for 1. Salvi Perez, 2 out of 6. You also have Jonathan India, 2 out of 3, so small sample size. The only guy that's got any reasonable plate appearances that he hasn't gotten that much is Canha, who is 1 for 9. So I look at this Royals lineup and I want to see how many of these guys are going to chase. Because if you're going to chase against this man, and if you're going to swing that much outside the zone, you run up your risk a ton of getting strikeouts. So India, Witt, Pasquantino, 1, 2, 3. India doesn't chase. Witt does chase. Pasquantino chases. Both of them, their chase contact is above average, but not at the level that you would think, like astronomically high, given the lack of strikeouts that they have. So I'm not even going to put like dead spots for either one of those guys. I can probably, out of the top 3, get 1. Next ones, Canha, I said, is going to be tough, but you got Salvi, Perez, and Mikhail Garcia. You have Garcia does not chase. Salvi Perez does and doesn't make contact. Salvi will strike out. So now I have 2, maybe 3. Then the last 3, Massey, Renfroe, Waters. I already talked about Renfroe's history. That's a strikeout. That's 4. I have Waters at 5. And then the last one would be Massey, who also chases a ton. He makes good contact when he does, but he chases a ton. So I'm looking at this one, and if this is the lineup that they're going to run, especially if Waters is in the 9 hole, is that there are a couple guys in this lineup who can easily strike out twice. Renfroe is 1, Waters is another, Salvi Perez is a 3rd. And when you give me a 5.5 for a home pitcher with that kind of juice, this is a hard lean on the over here. And it sounds weird because I'm saying to play an over on one of the highest contact teams in baseball. But again, it's contact in the zone. They chase a ton. They chase a lot. They chase early. They chase often, to the tune of MLB first pitch swing percentage is 31.6%. And right now in this lineup, you have Pasquantino, Witt, Salvi, Waters, who over half the lineup that swings above average on that first pitch. So for a guy like Ray, who needs chase to get strikeouts, there's ample amounts of chase here. I also talked about, you have a team flying across the country, coming in just fresh, versus a team that is coming off or is on a home stand. It's always advantage to the home team. So this is a hard lean on the over here for Robbie Ray. It's a fair price at -112. What I would really like, I mean, I'm sure India will play. So I guess I can't really count on that one. But what would be really nice would be if Furman was in, if Salvi DH'd and Furman was in for one of the other high contact guys. That would make it easily playable. But right now, if you have to play it right now, hardly on the over for Mr. Robbie Ray. All right, a couple more people in the chat, then we'll get to other looks and other things. I do see Slim jumping in. Good morning to you, my guy. Thanks so much for joining. Appreciate you. Adam saying, oh, thank you. The GOAT is back, and congrats to Tony. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I posted it last night on X. Super proud. He's on his senior trip right now, somewhere in the woods. They're whitewater rafting and doing all that fun stuff. So I hope he has a blast. Roger saying, thoughts on Kodai Senga? Yeah, I looked at Senga a little bit earlier today. Looked at him for a while, and the lack of zone contact for the Red Sox would definitely indicate a look at the over. Where I look at, though, is I'm not sure that I could get there with some of the road strikeout performances that he's had. Now, granted, I'll give him credit because his road opponents have been the Diamondbacks, who are elite at not striking out at home, the Nationals, who were really good during that time, and the Athletics, who have been really good at not striking out. So I'll give him that much. I think it's a fair price right now. And I'm going to wait for lineups before I decide to do anything on this, because there's really not a whole lot I can discern from the line itself. The only thing that's given me a little cause for pause here is that his earned runs, which had been at pretty religiously at a 1.5, are up at a very, very bettable on both sides, 2.5. Now, doesn't mean you can't strike guys out. So, but for me right now, I just don't know enough to make a discernment. Boston is on no under island for me, so it's either over or nothing if you're going to look at it. And Kid Keon, welcome in, my guy. Appreciate you being here. Saying thoughts on Davis Martin. Yeah. He was another guy that I looked at for a while. Davis Martin gets the Mariners. His line. It's interesting because first of all, under is just out of the question, because you're not going to pay minus 150 something for a home pitcher against a team that can be so strikeout prone like the Mariners. So really, you're only looking at the over at plus money. So an over, a home pitcher getting plus money on an over is always something that at least interests me. My problem is that he spends most of his time in the zone, and he allows 90.1% zone contact. And the zone is where you can get the Mariners, like usually 6 or 7 of 9, with the exception of Polanco and Crawford, have above average zone contact. And Martin has gotten the teams he's hit 5+ strikeouts against are the Reds, who have relatively poor zone contact. Astros, no, he didn't get against the Twins. Boston, who we just talked about, is terrible at zone contact. So it's a team that can strike out a lot, but the problem becomes what Martin allows a lot of is what the Mariners' weakness can be. So I would probably want to see, I certainly can't see zone contact above 90. If it was 84, 83-ish or less, I might be interested in just running some hitter numbers and seeing what he does. But the other thing he doesn't have, which can get the Mariners as well, is he doesn't have a lot of velo. The Mariners can strike out to velo, especially some of the guys in the middle of their lineup, like Raleigh, like Rowdy Tellez. They can be prone to just getting it blown by them. And Martin only averages about 93.5 on his four-seam fastball. So for me, it's just probably a stay-off spot, even though I get why you like it, because the team is strikeout prone, and and it's plus money for a home pitcher. Just I just can't get there. And Eric asking, any thoughts on Nick Lodolo? Yeah, Lodolo for me today is over or nothing. The matchup obviously works with the Pirates. The only thing that I want to see, first of all, we talked about this over the weekend, is that the Pirates have gotten into this habit of not releasing their lineup until like 5 seconds before first pitch. So, and they have a whole bunch of different combinations. It might be a little more normalized now with O'Neal Cruz being back, but thing I want to see is how many chasers do we have in this lineup, because as a team, their overall chase rate's pretty low, and Lodolo needs chase to get Ks. So his zone contact rate is pretty sky high, 87.3, but his chase rate is 33.9, which is above average, and his chase contact allowed is below. So I need to see at least four, preferably five guys that chase at league average or worse, and then that would get me interested in Lodolo. And right now, what I see is that Frazier is not projected to be in the lineup, which would be good. Kiner Falefa is, and that's going to be a dead spot, and that's just something you have to deal with. But for me right now, I see probably about half and half for chasers, people who chase, people who don't. So the price is probably fair at the moment, but I want to see the final composition of the lineup. What I definitely don't want to see is IKF and Frazier both in, because that would make it really tough. And Cover Kings, welcome in, my guy, saying 1 unit on Mitch Keller, over 5.5 strikeouts at -140. I'm assuming you got that from FanDuel, because I think everybody else has it as a 6.5. All right, other looks and means and other stuff to look at for today. All right, if you're looking at a plus money line today, I mean, there's not a ton of them out there, but as much as I hate giving this one out, I do think that there's value in the Guardians against my Twins. 13-game winning streak snapped yesterday, and now we return home to get the Guardians, but I'm not a big fan of this matchup. So the Guardians at plus 120, I feel bad doing it, but got to go where the money says to go. And then if you want a some home plus money, there is some value. It's not really indicative or correlative of how I think Senga will pitch, but the Red Sox at plus 118 at home, to me, has a value over the course of the full game. Elsewhere, if you're looking at a total for this one, for today, I think that the under for Detroit and St. Louis works. You can also look at taking the Tigers team total under. Like I said, I talked about Sonny Gray and why I'm like 50-50 on his Ks, but I do think there's some indications he'll have a good start. And then the only other one that I was looking at would be like the chalkiest one typically each day, but they have just absolutely pummeled this man. The Dodgers team total over for sure. You can take the full game over in that one, because I think that the Diamondbacks can get at Knack. I'm actually expecting an ample amount of runs in that one. The Dodgers have had some games where they just pound the shit out of Fott, and he didn't look good in his last start at all either. So a lot of runs in that one. You can play that one multiple different ways. I think that the Dodgers first 5 team total over makes sense. I think the first 5 over makes sense. I think that basically just however you want to do it, where there's going to be runs scored. That's where I'm at with that one. And Roger also saying, we also learned that game 7 in the NBA doesn't mean much anymore. Both freaking blowouts. Yeah. Denver ran out of gas. They were tired. They were beat up. I mean, Aaron Gordon, man. I give him a lot of credit, playing with a grade 2 strain that by some accounts can keep people out for a month, and he gutted it out. He was not himself at all. He didn't have his elevation, but he gutted his normal vertical, gutted it out. But yeah, they were just outmatched. So I'll have a whole bunch more to say on the NBA playoff game going tomorrow. I'll have a whole bunch of it to say in this section tomorrow. Slim saying I like the Red Sox today. Yeah. There's usually, not always, but there is usually value in home dogs in MLB. I forget the exact win rate, but there usually is value on a home dog in MLB. And I think that if they can, Hunter Dobbins actually matches up better with the Mets lineup than people might think. It's a mismatch for Singa and Dobbins, but it's not like David versus Goliath. So I think if Dobbins can just keep them at bay until Singa's out of the game, I actually do have a lot of like for the Red Sox money line today. And then Cover King saying that he got that line on Keller on Fanatics, because I just, yeah. So, all right, that's going to do it for today. Wanted to just thank everybody who joined, thank everybody who commented, gave plays, gave picks, gave stuff. Thank you so much to Roger, Mario, Mom Who Bets, Trying to Rob FanDuel, Eric, Adams, Slim, Kid Keon, Cover Kings. Appreciate all of you for being here. Please, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. Follow me at SpinDoc Sports on X. Like the video, give it a lot of love. We do appreciate that to help get our stuff out there. Also, one last one. Hi, Mark Water. Thank you as well. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you, my guy. And best of luck with anything that you're tailing today. And we'll see you tomorrow.